Hi, it's Natasha.
And Khalil.
And we are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 202nd episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything important to us, you, the world, and nothing is off the table. This week we are discussing corporal punishment in schools. But before we dive deep into this subject, a couple of things to go over. Make sure you download the episode on WokeNFree.com through the Podbean app. If you do that, then you're able to join the conversation by adding your comments to what we're talking about. And we want to hear from you on corporal punishment in schools. Please, please, please make sure you do that. Now, for some reason, if you cannot download episodes because you can't download the app, then a little bit of sadness. It's a little bit sad, but that's okay because you still can go to WokeNFree.com. You can go to the listen tab and then you can pick your platform of choice where you want to listen and subscribe to the show. For instance, we have Love on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify. Guys, it's a WokeNFree world, so make sure you do that. Now, when it comes to other nifty ways to connect with us, subscribe to WokeNFree.com via email so that you get email notifications about our new episodes every single week, which you can share with your family and friends because that's how WokeNFree people do. And then, of course, on social media, holler at us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn at WokeNFree. Lastly, if you have a couple of seconds, review the show, guys. Review the show. Give us your feedback. We want to know how the show's feeding into you. Go to WokeNFree.com, go to the listen tab, pick your platform of choice where you want to review the show at. Scene, end.
Good job, too.
Gracias.
Before we start the conversation, we'd like to share a little bit about ourselves. Last time we asked, would you rather attend a day glow or foam party? This week we're asking, would you rather put a spider or ice cubes down your booze shirt?
What kind of craziness is this, Khalil?
Nothing that I came up with.
Amazing.
That's what I'll tell you.
Okay.
This is not from my mind.
Okay. So
yeah, I don't think like this.
Deeply terrified of insects. So, hard pass on spiders. And because you're referring to the insect, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure, these nifty kids come up with new
names. One cool thing is this is what you would do to your partner.
So you.
Yeah, what would you rather put down my shirt?
You?
You have a choice. You got to choose. What are you going to put? The spider or the ice cube?
Ice, because I think ice would cool you off, man. You're you're hot. You're Mr. Hot and Mr. Fiery Leo Lion. So yes, ice for you. But if you really wanted spiders, I guess you could get it. But I wouldn't opt for that. No.
All right. Well, yeah. So you would do the ice cubes, and if I had to choose for this to do to you, I don't want you to go into anaphylactic shock, so I'm definitely going with the ice cubes, not the spider.
Absolutely.
Because that would be, then we're going to have a hospital visit going on. This doesn't make any sense.
We still might have that hospital visit because I'm going to take those ice cubes and throw it at you.
But I do the old school Matrix on it.
Oh, nice.
I'll be dodging it in slow motion.
Well, I guess we're going to have a really horrible night because it would really not end well because then I wouldn't have gotten you and then I'd get angered.
Oh, yeah, you'd go even harder.
And then I would go
So that's not fair.
Into some type of what's that? Dragon Ball Z mode, and I would turn on fire, and it would be bad.
So that's why you just got to take the L, and you can't just say I got to keep going. Just take it.
I'm not going to take the L there. No,
so that's not right.
I'm going to torture you back.
See, that's not fair because when I know I've lost, I say good one. Buenas noches. I say that.
Wonderful for you. I've had your child. I deserve to punish you.
And I say you caught me. This is the night. I'm throwing in the towel. You did good.
No, I refuse to give you
all right.
Yeah.
That's what you do. So that it's a form of punishment that you put upon
your
husband.
You are out of control.
Yeah, you're out of control punishing me. Physically, nonetheless.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
I don't think these students in schools are thinking like that.
Nice.
Do you think that's happening? I mean, is corporal punishment in the U.S. school system even allowed?
So clever.
That's what I gotta ask. I'm just wondering.
Yes, exactly.
I'm wondering.
According to boardingschoolreview.com, there are 19 states which corporal punishment is still allowed for students. And Merriam-Webster, just in case everyone doesn't know what corporal punishment is, it is defined as punishment that involves hitting someone. Physical punishment, yes. So it is legal to discipline students by hitting them in the following states, as again, according to boardingschoolreview.com, which is the states include Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Wyoming. That was super shocking to me. And it is also legal to paddle students with a wooden paddle. Now, while it is much worse, 10 or 20 years ago, it is still appalling that this is actually still allowable in those following 19 states that I shared.
And it would be good to point out that most of those states are southern states too. So notice how they're sticking with old tradition of punishment by the teachers. Like that's something that
in the South, the Southwest, and the Midwest. Yep.
Yeah, that's something to keep in mind, that these places that it's happening, it's not in the most progressive of areas. Let's keep that in mind.
Super
and
scary.
Just to enforce what the corporal punishment is, it's physically beating young children. Like physically beating young children.
Nice emphasis.
Just to be clear on that, so there's no ifs, and, or buts about it. I don't want people to say, it's just giving consequence when they act out. No, let's say for sure you're inflicting violence on someone. That's what I'd like to add there.
And now, why do you believe corporal punishment is still allowed in those 19 states, or even at all in schools?
I mean, to me, I just think practically, and in terms of practicality, it's just a way to stop a child from continuing some sort of action. Because you could just think about it, when violence is inflicted on a person, they just can't go and ignore it. Their action's gonna have to change, compared to, like, let's say you give a verbal reprimandment. The child or the student could continue to do what they want. They could just ignore what you say. But if you take let's say a pointing stick and you slap it across their arm, they're going to react in some way. They're not just going to keep going because they're going to physically feel that. So it'll stop them from doing their action, at least for a little bit.
Yep.
It might continue, but then you hit them again. And I don't know, at that point they might say, I don't like being beat.
Exactly.
So I think it's just easy to do, right? It's an easy way to get what you want.
Immediate gratification through
it's instant gratification.
Yeah, absolutely. So according to procon.org, data shows that more than 109,000 students, down from 163,333 in the 2011 to 2012 school year, were physically punished in more than 4,000 schools in 21 states during the 2013-2014 school year. And some of those students in the states is where the practice is banned. Now, rural, low-income Black male students were more likely to have experienced corporal punishment, and children with disabilities also experienced corporal punishment at higher rates than other students. So, why do I think it's happening? I think that there is a systemic breakdown in our educational system where not all students are treated equally, and not all students are treated with a level of respect, because to mention poor Black males, right, who definitely are typically kind of struggle in schools because they're categorized as difficult or problematic. Also, children with disabilities, right, require more care. So it seems like not only is it I'm going to be able to get exactly what I want immediately out of the school, out of this behavior with the students, but also these are kids who maybe not are favored children in the schools and in the classroom. And so it might be the teacher's frustration. It might be the teacher's inability to think outside of the box when it comes to getting across what they need done, as well as maybe they also come from a background where they believe in, spare the rod, or spare the child, spare the rod, whatever that phrase is, where like
spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yeah, exactly. Where it is good for the child to be punished, because with punishment comes the growth. And it's really it's the understanding of fear, right? Because to your point,
true, yeah.
If you hit someone, you know that person's going to fear doing that action again because they fear having to be hit again.
Yeah.
There's no learning or growth. You've just instilled fear in that person or in that individual. So
but fear is a big motivator.
Fear is a big motivator. That's why this is a practice that still has continued. Yeah. And then also there could be, religious ties to it as well. People sometimes in certain religious beliefs think that might be inappropriate behavior, or even a cultural behavior.
So you're supposed to beat these children into doing good.
Exactly. And then, Also, it's just, I think, people just not being, being allowed, right? Like the fact that it happens because it's like, who's going to stop them? Even, you have to wonder, is it only 19 states, or maybe it's more?
Just as you stated that a lot of those beatings were happening in
banned
states
areas,
that it was banned. And then I'll admit from personal experience that happened to me in elementary school, and it was a private elementary school.
In
it wasn't,
New York State.
Yeah, in New York. And I know that wasn't allowed.
No, it is not allowed in New York.
Yeah, so that happened to me, and it was in New York, so let's, how many more schools are just like that where this thing's going on?
Exactly.
Can't say for sure.
You are now listening to WokeNFree.
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 A podcast about being real and honest.
Do you have any thoughts or proposals when it comes to corporal punishment in U.S. schools?
Yes, absolutely. I would propose that we have it eliminated in all 50 states for the following reasons. Hitting children is never a reasonable approach to teaching children how to obey rules and regulations. To my earlier point, it's only teaching them how to fear people and circumstance. And I think that teaching people to make decisions and to behave out of fear is not necessarily the most progressive way to enable and to empower our youth. So there's that. Next, teachers have no business physically interacting with our students. They are hired to provide a service, which is the service of education. Teach the children, not hurt the children, molest the children, rape the children, or physically interact with the children outside of being a gym teacher. So I don't understand why this is in any way appropriate. Also, children aren't always in a position to defend themselves, right? Even when it comes to, if you think outside of corporal punishment, you think of children who are getting molested and raped and abused in schools. It's because they are a vulnerable population. So this is a sign of an abuse of power. And so this is also why it should be completely abolished, and anyone who does this should be held accountable to the highest degree possible for this type of abuse of power. And then also, this should be eliminated because teaching children that violence is an acceptable response to a verbalization is the perpetuation of violence in our society. What do I mean by that? When a teacher says, hey, go sit down, and the student doesn't listen, and then they go and they hit that child because maybe they had to tell that student 5 or 6 times, then you've just shown them that it's okay to share words and to respond with violence. And then when they go out and they do that in the world and you want to punish them for that, well, it started earlier in their life. So why wasn't the teacher punished? But the student who's now a person in society gets punished? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, right? So
that's not fair.
Words should be responded with words, never violence. And if we can't see that corporal punishment is perpetuating violence in our society, then we're not being radically aware and self-aware with ourselves, and we need to call a spade a spade.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. And I just asked the question, what is abuse versus discipline? At what point do we say that's harmful to the child versus, oh, that's teaching them outstanding morals? You don't really know. The line is very thin, right? And then another question is, what happens if you punish this child and that pain lasts a long time? Do you just say, well, put ice on it and get over it? I mean, what kind of memory is that going to leave them with? Like, I go to school and then I leave in pain. I mean, that'll make me say, maybe I don't want to go to school. Maybe I'm not going back. Yeah. That's something to think about. And for me, I would want to take away this corporal punishment because I don't want other people hitting my child. That seems crazy. Yeah. Then my child, what do they think about me? I can't keep them safe when they go to school. Like, that's nuts. Yeah. I think that can, make them think that when I go to school, I gotta be very careful or else I can get hurt. And mommy and daddy can't they can't protect me either. And then that is they protect me usually, but they can't protect me at school. That horrible. Kind of thing. So that's the thing I think about. And similar to what you lastly were saying, when you beat them, it reinforces the idea that if someone does something that's considered wrong, they should be physically punished for it. So, you can't get mad, like if they get shortchanged at the store and then they go and they punch the store attendant.
Or shoot them in the face,
Yeah, because they were like, well, they did wrong. They didn't give me the correct amount of change.
So now I'm going
to harm them because that happened to me. I mean, I didn't do, I wasn't counting correctly. Yeah, exactly. When I got my numbers wrong, I got slapped in the hand. So I got to do it to this person. That's what you do to teach people, and then they won't do it again. So see, that doesn't make sense though. That's not correct to teach them that. We don't want that to happen in our world. So why do we continue to do that? It's very bizarre.
Exactly.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time, guys. Scenario 1. Kavan is a clever boy that makes smart remarks whenever he's in class. His teacher has told him to stop this behavior many times before. After a few days of Kavan continuing, he gets abruptly slapped on the hand by the teacher's ruler. Was the teacher justified in this action?
No, absolutely not. The teacher was not justified because no matter how disruptive Kavan was, there's no justification for physically harming children, whether they are yours or someone else's. Now, what Kavan is doing is obviously expressing the fact that he is bored and probably not intellectually stimulated in the class, thus why he's acting as the class clown. And it needs to be, an educational plan needs to be decided for him that allows him to grow and express himself, because maybe he is going to be a comedian. Maybe he's going to be a host. Maybe this is someone who might be a social media personality. This is a person who is displaying creative energy, which should be fostered and celebrated and empowered, not punished. So no, that is unjustifiable harm that is occurring.
Yeah, I agree. This is not cool. This teacher's in the wrong, and I'd like to sue the teacher and have them never teach again.
Always a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Sue them.
Yeah, maybe they can clean up the subway or something. Amazing. I don't know. But they shouldn't interact with kids.
Yeah, they should spend time with rats.
Yeah. They can chase the rats. They can do that. Amazing. Pest control. Yes. Because I
used to beat children. Now I beat rats.
Well, no, that's, you're going to get PETA mad.
Oh gosh. Oh no.
Don't beat the rats. You
the
catch them and put them in some other environment. I don't know if they do it with rats.
Set them free into a happy rat.
I don't know where rats live, but that's what you got to interact with.
Inner subway system.
I don't know where you let them free. I don't know if there's like a rat sanctuary.
There might be a rat sanctuary somewhere.
Maybe
they need to go and be.
That's as good
there.
As you should be working with. You can't work with humans after this.
Exactly.
That's what I say.
Exactly.
Scenario 2. Manganyama feels that the best way for kids to learn is by respecting their instructors and not acting up in class. She claims the phrase, "spare the rod, spoil the child," means that kids not physically punished will be worse adults. Does she really have a good point of view?
No, I'd not be able to say that name.
Yes, you are.
I know, unfortunately, no. You have to know your limits, guys.
All right, so, you're throwing in the towel there.
This person is an entity.
It's a woman, though.
Pardon?
Yeah, pardon, ma'am. It's a man, pardon.
Pardon, ma'am.
Yes.
No, this is a belief system that she may feel entitled to, but it is not appropriate in human society. And so this person needs to do is spend time with children to understand and see the beauty and the complexities that come with children. As new parents, yes, guys, our son is here. He's so adorable, amazing. And is it easy? No, children are not easy. I mean, we're dealing with someone who's crying, and maybe you don't want them to cry, and yeah, sure, you can try to be upset about them, but at the end of the day, children are children, and they are the future of human society. So why would we ever say that it's ever okay to physically beat and harm the future of your society? That is counterintuitive, and that is idiotic at best. No,
it is. Yeah, I don't get that. It's there's no point of view here. There's no point of view. She has no proof that this is actually true, because look how our society is today. A lot of these people come from parents who beat them, and teachers who beat them, and that hasn't helped. So that's
we have
not
serial killers.
It's not. It'd be different if we were in a perfect society.
Exactly.
It's like, there's a delicate balance. We got to be careful.
If this was Gattaca, now here we go, right? But it's not Gattaca.
We don't see that. So there's nothing that points to that this physical beating has helped society in any way. It hasn't shown that. All that shows is that you're continuing on our animalistic traits. That's all that is. Because that's, animals do that to their little ones. They don't, not all of them though, but I'm not, there's definitely animals that they beat their children to keep them in line.
Exactly.
But we're supposed to be a little bit beyond that, right? So don't say you have a good point of view when you want to do something so tribal. Well, not tribal, but
old
just
school
kind of
and
visceral
in nature.
in nature. That's not a good point of view. Scenario 3. Bianca told her mom that she noticed the boys in her school were often beaten more than the girls who did the same act. She thinks it is unfair that boys are being treated differently than the girls, Is it possible that a school would punish the students differently based on gender?
Oh gosh, absolutely. Because boys are typically seen as more aggressive or more unruly. And then, of course, when you add in other factors like race and culture, then you also have levels of discrimination where people are being kind of targeted as kind of these are the troublemakers if they just open up their mouth to breathe or if they happen to be, you know, a little bit more outspoken. So yes, in this case, if a child is witnessing it most likely, it is definitely happening across the board. But if children of themselves could witness it, imagine how just horrible the scene is. Because children typically are, you know, like little beautiful vampires. Like they're so self-absorbed. It would be interesting for them. It's always interesting when children kind of take that perspective to look around and be like, why is this happening, mommy or daddy? Like,
True.
So, you know, yeah, it is probably happening, and it's a horrible mistake and an act of injustice occurring.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I agree. This definitely does occur because I think the reason is because people try to toughen up the boys. They're like, you got to be a man someday, so
yeah, man up.
I'm gonna beat you into it, right? That's kind of
crazy.
the thing, but it's not the way to go. You don't want to do that. You don't want to make the man more violent and then wonder why that man goes on to beat his spouse because he was beaten, right? He just passes that on like, well, when I'm angry, I get beaten. So
Exactly.
I'm angry, I'm going to beat somebody. Let's just think about that, guys. That's not the way to go.
Exactly. Absolutely. And it looks like we are at that time again. It is coming to the end of our 202nd episode of Woke and Free. Quite the episode discussing corporal punishment in schools.
Come back next week for the new Woke and Free Wednesday episode. Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along in the conversation, and make sure you tune in next week for Woke and Free Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
Now, if you want to be a guest on our show, submit a topic for an upcoming episode, or share how you feel on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That is WokenFree.com. Again, we have our little boy, woohoo! And we are so enamored by his dynamicness, and obviously no one is beating him. Without a doubt. And he is definitely beating us up at night, which is really fun.
I know that is right.
I know that's right. Best said by Cardi B. But guys, if you want to follow us and holler at us on social media, find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn at Woke and Free. And then, of course, all sponsorships or collaboration ideas, hit us up on our Contact Us page at WokenFree.com.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do, share the episode, and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for Woke and Free Wednesdays. Remember, Woke and Free is more than a podcast, it is a way of life. Until next time.